The deadline to withdraw from the 2025 NBA draft is right around the corner, as players who have entered their name have less than a week to decide if they are going to stay in the draft or return to college next year. And while some decisions seem clearer than others, basketball fans will be on the edge of their seat as these stay or go decisions could completely reshape the college basketball landscape and have a massive impact on rosters, rankings, and expectations for teams heading into next season. Let's jump into it. And multiple players have already announced their decision to stay in the NBA draft, and some of them may surprise you. And first, we have Alabama freshman guard Labaron Philon, who has officially declared he's staying in the 2025 NBA draft, shutting the door on a return to Tuscaloosa. Philon informed Alabama's coaching staff of his decision and said he's all in on going pro. The talented freshman averaged 10.5 points and 4 assists per game and is widely projected as a late first to early second round pick. Known for his scoring instincts and playmaking ability, Philon had a strong season that caught the attention of scouts across the league, and while there was some early speculation about a possible return, Philon made it clear that his sights are set on the NBA. His departure leaves a gap in the Tide's backcourt, but Nate Oates has been hot on the recruiting trail looking for his replacement. Drake Powell has also officially shut the door on a return to North Carolina, betting on his elite tools to secure a spot in the first round of the NBA draft. The 6'6" wing was a 5-star recruit, and despite an inconsistent freshman year, flashed some high upside. He shot nearly 38% from 3 and established himself as one of the class's top perimeter defenders. Powell didn't participate in 5-on-5 scrimmages, but impressed with a 43-inch max vertical, which is the best at the combine. His blend of shooting, defensive versatility, and elite athleticism gives him a strong late first-round potential, and if a team believes in his development, Powell could grow into a valuable 3-and-D piece at the next level. Duke guard Tyrese Proctor will also be staying in the 2025 NBA draft, skipping his senior season with the Blue Devils. After enrolling early, Proctor played 3 seasons under Coach Shire, helping Duke win an ACC championship and reach the Final Four. But when asked at the NBA Combine if he might return to Duke next season, Proctor made it clear that he's 100% in on turning pro, closing the door on any return to college basketball. Currently, Tyrese Proctor is a projected mid to late second round pick, but his development and experience make him an intriguing prospect in this year's draft. And another player that is all in on the NBA draft is Thomas Sorber. The 6'10 Georgetown freshman had his season cut short by a foot injury, but still averaged 14.5 points, 8.5 rebounds, and 2 blocks while shooting over 50% from the field. Though his three-point shot does need work, Sorber's physicality, foot speed, and massive wingspan make him a strong fit as a defensive anchor. He told Sports Illustrated he's 100% into the NBA draft, officially ending any chance of a return to Georgetown. And currently projected as a mid to late first round pick, Sorber could thrive in the right situation as a high motor, rim protecting big with long-term NBA potential. And maybe one of the biggest names that has declared they are staying in the NBA draft is Karter Bryant, who has quickly become one of the fastest rising names in this year's draft class. The 6'8 wing out of Arizona didn't post eye-popping numbers this past season, only averaging 6.5 points, 4 rebounds, and a block per game, but his tape tells a completely different story. With the ideal size, length, and 37% shooting percentage from 3, Bryant projects as a prototypical 3-and-D wing at the next level. And while he was underutilized at Arizona, he still flashed enough defensive upside and versatility to grab scouts' attention. Bryant was originally considered a potential returnee to Tucson early on in the draft process, but has since shut that door, telling reporters at the NBA Draft Combine that he's completely in on the NBA draft, and I can't blame him. Once thought of as a second rounder, Bryant is now firmly in top 20 conversations and may even sneak into the lottery. And if he lands with the right team, he could be one of the biggest steals of the NBA draft and be a plug-and-play contributor from day one. With the tools, frame, and shooting to thrive in today's NBA, Karter Bryant is a name to watch closely on draft night. And while some have already announced that they will be staying in the NBA draft, there have been some big names that have withdrawn and even some that have committed to their new school since. and the first was Boogie Fland, who officially withdrew from the NBA draft and committed to the defending NCAA champion Florida Gators under coach Todd Golden. After entering the transfer portal following his freshman season at Arkansas, the 6'2 guard, who averaged 13.5 points per game last season, is now joining one of the top teams loaded for another title run. Ranked as a top 10 player in the portal, Fland brings elite playmaking and guard skills to Florida's roster. Additionally, he's set to earn over $2 million this season through an NIL deal with the Gators. Another big name and portal target was Texas Tech transfer Darrion Williams, who has withdrawn from the NBA draft and committed to NC State, choosing the Wolfpack over Kansas. The 6'6 junior forward averaged 15 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 3.5 assists per game last season, and was considered one of the top players in this year's transfer portal. Williams' decision marks a massive win for head coach Will Wade, giving NC State a potential All-American next season. And with his all-around skill set and experience, Williams is expected to play a major role for the Wolfpack in Will Wade's first year with the program. And Big Blue Nation also got some big news this week as Kentucky commit Jaland Lowe has decided he's not quite ready for the pros. Lowe impressed during the NBA pre-draft process, including a strong showing at the G League Elite Camp, but the Pitt transfer withdrew from the draft and will suit up for the Wildcats next season under Mark Pope. Lowe averaged nearly 17 points, 5.5 assists, 4 rebounds, and about 2 steals per game last year, earning third-team All-ACC honors, and despite some inconsistent shooting at times, his playmaking and scoring ability were undeniable. Now, surrounded by more talent in Lexington, Lowe aims to boost his efficiency and solidify himself as a future NBA prospect. And the last big name to withdraw from the NBA draft was Josh Hubbard, who is back at Mississippi State for his junior season. And after testing the NBA draft waters, the SEC's leading scorer is now returning to Starkville and averaged 19 points on solid shooting splits and added in 3 assists and 2 rebounds per game last season. The 5'11 guard has already racked up over 1,200 career points and earned all SEC honors in each of his first 2 seasons. And with Chris Jans entering year 4 and aiming for his first NCAA tournament win, Hubbard's return gives Mississippi State a proven star to build around and rely on. But those are only a few, as we still have a ton of NBA draft decisions that will change college basketball for next season. And one of the most important decisions is Otega Oweh's, whose NBA future remains uncertain, but his strong showing at the NBA Draft Combine has kept the conversations alive. The Kentucky guard scored in double figures in both scrimmage games and said he's approaching the process as if he's all in. Still, Oweh currently projects as a late second-round pick or potentially undrafted, but despite that, he made it clear that he wants to get drafted and not signed as an undrafted free agent. And returning to Kentucky for another season could change that outcome. Oweh was a second-team All-SEC performer last year and would be one of the top returning scorers in high major basketball and could significantly raise his stock if he came back for another season. Head coach Mark Pope has brought in a massive haul of 10 new players, including 5-star freshman Jasper Johnson and transfers Denzel Aberdeen and Jaden Quaintance, but Oweh's return would solidify Kentucky as a preseason top 10, maybe even top 5 team, and will give them a proven scorer to play around. But if Oweh wants to play in the NBA next season, I do think there will be a role for him, but he'd be giving up a significant amount of money, as a 2-way contract is roughly $600,000 compared to the multi-million-dollar NIL package that he would get from Kentucky. And I think that is going to be the biggest deciding factor for Otega Oweh, and expect him to be back with the Wildcats for next season. And Arkansas fans could also be in for a major boost next season, as the latest buzz suggests that both Karter, Knox, and Adou Thiero may return to Fayetteville, which is a scenario that would instantly vault the Razorbacks into preseason top 10 territory. Knox, a dynamic scorer with strong defensive tools, impressed at the NBA Combine with a 6'10 wingspan and a nearly 40-inch vertical, but he's not currently projected to be drafted. While he told reporters he is 50-50 on staying in the draft at this time, most signs point to a return to Fayetteville. Thiero, on the other hand, raised some eyebrows by keeping the door open for another college season, despite being ranked around the 35th pick in ESPN's mock draft. The 6'8 forward with a 7-foot wingspan is a high-level athlete and versatile defender, but his limited shooting might benefit from more college development. Both players interviewed with several NBA teams in Chicago, but Thiero's circle is reportedly still seeking feedback. And if even one returns, Arkansas is in grave shape, but if both do, Calipari's squad could be elite next year. Auburn guard Tahaad Pettiford made a major impression at the NBA Draft Combine, potentially shifting the trajectory of his basketball future. After starting just one game as a freshman at Auburn, Pettiford seized his moment in Chicago, posting 23 points and 8 assists in his team's first scrimmage and showcasing elite athleticism. His performance nudged him slightly up in mock drafts to around the 37th pick, but others have him going as high as a late first rounder. And Tahaad made it clear at the Combine that a first round guarantee would more than likely lock his decision to go pro next season. For Bruce Pearl and Auburn, the stakes are extremely high. Pettiford is poised to be the Tigers' primary playmaker and a potential preseason All-American. And with key transfer additions like Elijah Freeman, Keyshawn Hall, and Keyshawn Murphy, Pettiford's return would keep Auburn basketball in the national spotlight. However, if he stays in the draft, Auburn would have 0 returning production players from last season's squad and might be forced to hand the keys to freshman Caden Magwood. But since his projection is right around a late first round to early second round pick, I'm expecting Pettiford to return to Auburn for one more season and bolster his stock for next year's NBA draft, but all eyes will be waiting for the withdrawal deadline to see exactly what Tahaad Pettiford's decision will be. Houston guard Milos Uzan appears to be leaning towards staying in the NBA draft, even after a rocky showing at the Combine where he scored just 9 points on 3 of 12 shooting across 2 scrimmages. The Houston point guard had a strong junior season, helping lead the Cougars to the national title game and initially entered the draft as a likely second-round pick. And while he wasn't included in some post-combine mock drafts, Uzan has since completed workouts for 6 NBA teams and remains optimistic about making the leap to the pros. He told reporters he's all in on the draft, emphasizing that while he could potentially earn as much money with another year in college, his focus is on carving out a path in the NBA. However, if Uzan does return to school, Houston would bring back 3 starters from a 35-win team and be a serious contender for the preseason #1 team in the country. But with top 25 recruit Kingston Flemings and Creighton transfer Pop Isaacs already in the fold, head coach Kelvin Sampson has prepared well for the possibility that Uzan moves on to the next level, and it seems that that's the most likely outcome as of now. But one of the biggest winners of the NBA pre-draft process has been Duke commit Cedric Coward, as he is rapidly rising up NBA draft boards and may never even suit up for the Blue Devils. After committing to John Shire and Duke, Coward turned heads at the NBA Draft Combine, where he measured a 7'2" wingspan and shot an impressive 72% in drills, which was tied for 6th best. And currently, he's projected by some as a late first-round pick, but I think that's way too low, as there has been some buzz from scouts who believe he could even sneak into the end of the lottery. Coward told reporters that he is definitely leading towards staying in the draft as of now, and I think that's exactly what is going to happen. Once a Division III player, Coward has made a remarkable climb through the college ranks, averaging nearly 18 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists in just 7 games for Washington State last season, while shooting nearly 39% from 3. His versatile game and elite physical tools have scouts very intrigued. But Duke head coach John Shire isn't waiting around on Coward's decision, as he has just secured a commitment from FC Barcelona wing Dame Sarr to be Coward's replacement for next season if he doesn't return. And while Coward was a big win from the transfer portal when it was initially announced, all signs now point to him heading straight to the NBA next season. But one of the most 50-50 decisions seems to be Yaxel Lendeborg, the top-ranked player in the transfer portal. And he is one of the most intriguing names still navigating the NBA draft process. In the offseason, Lendeborg entered the transfer portal and committed to Michigan after his monster season at UAB. and going into the NBA Draft Combine, he had a late first-round projection, which held steady after posting 13 points and 9 rebounds in his first scrimmage, and he measured 6'10" with a massive 7'4" wingspan and impressed physically, but didn't move up draft board significantly from that. Lendeborg has stated he wants to be drafted inside the top 20, though it's unclear if that's a firm cutoff for staying in the draft. Most mocks currently have him in the 20 to 30 range of the first round, but if he returns to college, he'd be a game changer for Dusty May's Michigan squad, providing a proven frontcourt anchor alongside some other high-impact transfers like Morez Johnson Jr. from Illinois, Ade Mara from UCLA, and Elliot Cadeau from North Carolina. He'd also be getting a multi-million-dollar NIL package from Michigan, and his return to school could vault the Wolverines into preseason top 5 territory, as his decision would significantly impact Michigan's outlook for next season. And it seems that Lendeborg remains on the fence with his decision for the NBA draft, but sources have said that he's very focused on the draft process and is leaning towards staying in the NBA draft at this time. Another 50-50 decision seems to be Florida's Alex Condon, who finds himself at a critical decision point. He's weighing a potential NBA future against the opportunity to return to a championship caliber team in the Florida Gators. The 6'11" forward, who played a key role in Florida's national title run, chose not to participate in the 5-on-5 portion of the NBA Draft Combine, limiting his chances to shift his draft stock, which currently sits around early second round in recent mock drafts. And while he's been projected anywhere between picks 30 and 40, most signs suggest Condon is leaning toward a return to Gainesville, where a stacked starting 5 featuring Boogie Fland, Xavier Lee, Thomas Houck, Ruben Chinyelu, and Condon himself would immediately put Florida in the mix to repeat as champions. Condon admitted he has a good situation waiting for him back at Florida, and multiple sources believe he'll likely head back unless an NBA team surprises him with a top 20 promise. For now, the Gators remain in limbo, but Condon's return would solidify them as one of the most complete teams in the country heading into next season and could push them into top 5 of the preseason rankings. But as the NBA draft withdrawal deadline approaches, we still have 3 high-profile transfer portal names in RJ Lewis, PJ Haggerty, and Jamir Watkins, who remain undecided and the college basketball world is watching closely. Lewis and Haggerty, both All-Americans and top players in the transfer rankings, have impressive resumes, but it was Watkins who stole the show at the NBA Combine. He dropped 23 points and notched 5 steals in a standout scrimmage performance, moving him to a mid-second round pick in the latest mock drafts. However, Watkins mentioned that he is holding out for a guaranteed NBA contract and hasn't ruled out a return to school, as there is a lot of money on the table if he were to return to college. The Big East Player of the Year RJ Lewis struggled with consistency during the Combine, but says that he's still all in on going pro and has had no conversations yet with college coaches. But I would lean that Lewis ends up back in college next season due to his shaky play, and his recruitment is about as wide open as it gets. And PJ Haggerty showed some scoring ability but had turnover and finishing concerns during the Combine, and currently he's being projected as a second round pick in the NBA draft. Haggerty is rumored to be eyeing either NC State or Kansas State if he returns to school, and I think the money that he is going to be offered to play in college next year is going to be just too much to pass up on, and I would expect him back for next season. But if any of these 3 return, expect a fierce recruiting battle for a potential game-changing piece that could impact all of college basketball. Let me know in the comments who you think is going to stay in the NBA draft and who is going to return to college basketball next season. Also, if you enjoyed the content, please make sure to drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. Make sure to stay tuned for all of our upcoming transfer portal and NBA draft content, and we'll see you in the next one.